Simply Java. Today we're going to be building a basic calculator app. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I do want to go ahead and prefix right quick. We are a new channel. So with that said, I just want to kind of let you know how the channel will operate. Our videos are based for newbies to Java. Our projects are going to be basic level entry, input, output kind of programs. They're going to be console based and they're designed to inspire creativity. They'll be enough that if you know the fundamentals of Java, you should be able to keep up and build upon the projects that we help you create. So, with that said, all of the concepts and things like that, before you get started on our projects, I do recommend you go watch a basic Java, beginner level tutorial and make sure you are up to speed on different concepts. Again, projects will be basic level, so no need to worry, but just make sure you're able to keep up in that regard. So with that said, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and create a new Java project. I do want to mention I do use Eclipse for my videos. So if you don't have Eclipse, you can definitely download it, pause the video. If you don't want to use Eclipse, that's perfectly fine. As long as you're able to understand the IDE that you do use, the IDE that you use, you should be good. So with that said, we're going to create a new project. It will be called Basic. We're going to actually do under lower level, lowercase. Basic calculator. I do want to say I am not a spelling genius. I definitely make mistakes when it comes to spelling. So if you are someone who, we're going to use camel case. If you are someone who is a stickler for spelling, please just know I do make spelling mistakes. The IDE pretty much picks up on a lot of it, but sometimes things slip. So with that said, let's go ahead and open up our project. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find our source folder, and we want to go ahead and create a new package. So if you're new to Java, you may be wondering what a package is. Again, I'm not going to go into explaining all of the different terms and things like that. But on a simple level, a package allows multiple different classes of the same type or the same purpose to be housed together. And that's on the basic level. So in our regard, we're going to create a package that should be unique. We will call it com.simplyjava.youtube. Let's call it tools. All right, we'll go ahead and save that. We'll go ahead and access that package and create a new class inside that package as such. And we're going to call this class, we'll just call it calc. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make sure we check off public static void main string args. Essentially, that just goes ahead and pre-fills the main method that we will need, that all Java projects need, and we'll get that set up. So with that said, let's go ahead and remove this comment. All right, and then we want to go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to initialize the variables that we will be using for the project. So we have 3 variables we're going to use. The first of which is int num1 equals 0. We'll set that equal to 0 for now. And then the second will be int num2 equals 0. And then the third, and I'll explain these here in just a second, will be character OP. And we're not going to initialize that one. So essentially, our calculator app is going to work as such. We'll enter a number into the console. We will choose an operation, the char, which stands for character, and then OP stands for operand or operation. And essentially that is plus, minus, an asterisk for multiplication, or a / for division. So we'll be able to choose whichever operation we want to do, and then we will enter a second number that we will do some kind of arithmetic on. All right, so with that said, those are our variables we're going to use. We do have a couple of objects we're going to use as well. The first of which we will go ahead and create. The second we won't create just yet. So the first is going to be a scanner object. I'm not a fast typer, so that should be good news for a lot of people who don't like super fast videos. I'm definitely not one of those fast typers, so should be good there. All right, so system in. Okay, so essentially the scanner object is going to allow us to get user input and output. That's going to essentially be how all of our projects run, is out of the console. The console is this area down here. We will be able to enter in some word or number, and then we click enter, and our program will do some work with that information, and then it will spew out some information back to us, which hopefully is what we want, what we need rather. So we will see how that goes. After you have your scanner object created, we're going to go ahead and create our first, or we're going to ask for our first number. So we're going to create a system.out.println statement. A lot of these lines of code I'm creating, they do have shorthand shortcuts that you can use to access them. I'm not going to use those. I'm going to type everything out just because I don't want to move too fast, and I don't want anyone getting lost along the way. So I will type everything out. So yeah, and then we will go ahead and say, please enter the first number, and we'll put okay, so system.out.println allows us to print some words onto the console. And then we will go ahead. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get that user input from the console. So the first thing we did was ask the user, please enter a number. Well, now we need to get the number that they enter. So we're going to check first that the number that they enter is in fact a number and not, say, a word or a characters. We want to make sure what they enter is a number. So how we're going to do that is we're going to use a while statement. And that statement essentially is going to say while scanner dot has next int, and then we'll do some code. So what that says is while the scanner is not equal to a number, meaning while the user has not entered a number, they've entered a word or they've entered a letter or something else that isn't a number, do this. And then if they have entered a number, we will skip over this block and we will do whatever is after. So in the block, if they haven't entered a number, that means they haven't entered a value, or they haven't entered a correct value. We're going to tell them that they haven't entered a correct value. All right, so we're going to say invalid entry. Please try again. All right, perfect. So we'll go ahead and end that. And then the next line is going to say scanner.next, which actually asks them, or which allows them to enter another value. So as long as they keep entering a value that is not valid, we will continue to ask them, okay, this is invalid, please enter another number. This is invalid, please enter. And we'll do that and do that and do that until they enter a correct value, which in this case, it should be any number. There is no real range here. We just need a number. So we're going to go ahead and say if they have entered a correct value, let's go ahead and initialize this number 1. to, and this is actually initializing it, we're actually just going to set it to a new value, and that value is going to be scanner.nextInt. All right, so that says if they have entered the correct number, go ahead and save that number to the variable num1, which stands for number 1. All right, we're going to do the same thing. As a matter of fact, well, we're not going to copy and paste it. Let's type it out. But it's going to be the same idea for the operand. So we're going to do the operand next, the OP. And as you can tell, we're not going to use int. We're going to use string and characters. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and create another. I'm trying to think. Probably can just, no, I'm not going to copy. I don't like copy and pasting when learning new code because it's better just to type things out, right? Helps you learn. Print line. All right, so we'll say, please enter the second number. All right, and then we'll do another while loop. Oh, don't want that. And we'll say while not scanner dot has next, and we're gonna make sure we don't say next int. We're gonna say next line. A line just says next line means if they enter a string, a word. All right, so there isn't actually a next char or next character method. So we're going to just kind of manipulate that method to work how we need it to work. Okay, so if they haven't entered a word, we're going to say the same thing. Print on, and we'll say, as you can tell, I'm not the greatest typer in the universe, so that is okay. And then we'll say, that's not a valid, rather, let's just say invalid entry. Invalid entry. Please try again. All right. And then the next line, we'll do the same thing. So it's going to say scanner.next. And this just says, again, if you haven't entered a correct value, we're going to tell you haven't entered a correct value. Please try again. And we're going to give you the option to try again with the scanner.next. Once you have entered a correct value, we're going to go ahead and set that value to our variable OP, or op, short for operand. And we're going to say op equals scanner dot, and here's how we're going to manipulate the value, or manipulate the method. So we're going to say scanner.next, which essentially says the next line. And then we're going to say dot char, and we're going to say at 0. So what this says is, if the user has entered a correct word, take the word that they entered and get the value, get the character at index 0. That says get the first character of that word. So if the word is yes, we'll get the character Y from them. Right? Now, you may be saying, well, how is that practical to what we're trying to do? Well, we're going to ask later on, we're going to give them the options that they can choose from, which will be asterisk, a minus sign, an asterisk minus sign plus, or a forward slash for division. That was so out of line. That was... I did not do that in order at all. So, anywho, let's go ahead and move on. So the third and final value we're going to ask for is the second number. We're going to do the same thing. And for this one, I'm just going to copy and paste the first number code block. And we're going to just paste that here. And we'll just change that to second number, because this is going to be the exact same thing. Change that to second. And we're also going to change num1 to num2, and boom. So we are good to go there. All right. So after we have that, the next thing we can do is actually close our scanner object. We want to close it because we don't want to have any leaks or anything like that, wasting resources, stuff like that. It's not necessarily in our project going to be an issue if we didn't close it. We would have an annoying warning that would stay on the scanner object up here, and it really is just, let's just close it, you know. So, all right, perfect. The next thing we're going to do is actually create our first method. All right. So we're not going to create the method in the main class, or in the main method, I'm sorry. We're going to create the method in the calc class. So you want to make sure you find the ending curly brace for main method and create your next method beyond that curly brace, okay, or after that curly brace. All right.